I had a very important meeting in Liberia at Royal Hotel in room 309 with representatives of some very serious and powerful people. They offered me millions of dollars to run for the presidency of Liberia in this year's general and presidential elections. Their proposition, though massive, was not a shocker to me as a powerful man of God that I trust had earlier prophesied to me 3 years ago in 2020. They told me that they had conducted a nationwide survey on me that indicated that I had a strong favorability across the country. They promised to deploy the required expertise on top of the millions of dollars they were offering to ensure success. I must admit, I was overwhelmed in no small measure, not just by the sheer enormity of the proposition or offer, but also that it was particularly happening to me, Henry Costa, instead of one of the many already declared presidential candidates out there. Why me, I ask myself quietly. When it was my turn to speak after the gentleman had made the proposition to me, I nervously thanked them for their most generous offer, but firmly and respectfully declined their offer. I told them that I could not accept their money to run against Ambassador Joseph Boakai, for I was fully committed to his candidacy, and I believed it would deeply devastate a man that I had come to love, admire, and enthusiastically support. It would be a most painful act of betrayal, I believed at the time. The gentlemen were deeply disappointed by my answer, but ironically, they were blown away and impressed by my sheer loyalty to a man who was not even a remote blood relative of mine. Considering the serious money problems that Uncle Joe, as I call him, was facing, which I am very well familiar with, I then passionately pleaded with the gentlemen to convey my humble and fervent request to their superiors that I wanted them to kindly divert and give the $30 million package that they had offered me to Ambassador Joseph Yuma Boakai for his presidential campaign, while I would then focus on my already declared bid for the Senate seat of Montserrat County. After much hesitation, they reluctantly agreed to pass on my request to their superiors. I left that meeting feeling assured that I had done a most honorable and good thing. But little did I know the horrible nightmare that I was about to experience. I came downstairs where my people were waiting for me, got in my car, briefed my people who had accompanied me, and then called the prophet of God who had seen the revelation 3 years ago and told him that his prophecy had finally come to pass, but that I turned it down. He wasn't happy at all that I had declined the offer of $30 million to run for president. But I was convinced nonetheless that I had done the right thing. I returned to the United States the next day to head up the preparation effort to receive former Vice President Joseph Boakai a week after his discharge from ELWA Hospital, where
at Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a pleasant welcome to this special edition of Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Focus on Liberia, this is Between the Headlines, and we're going to be looking at the press conference held today by the leader of the COP, or the expelled leader, if what we are reading is correct, and member of the All-Liberian Party, ALP, Mr. Henry Pedro Costa. We're going to do a panel discussion, have a panel discussion on that, and do an in-depth analysis. Because of this, I've assembled the best team, and I have Mr. Jimin Eastman, who is joining us from the nation's capital. Jimmy, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, thank you for inviting me. I expect to learn a lot from the panelists here and you, and I hope to make a good contribution as we analyze this new political arena that's just opened up.
Let me also welcome a panelist on Tough Talking Thursday, Mr. Thomas B. Cannon. He's a policy guy. Thomas, welcome to Between the Headlines. Let's analyze this speech.
Thank you, Dennis. Great to be here.
Let me also welcome Mr. J. Victor Namwe. He has been a diehard UPP partisan who is now leaning CPP. Mr. Namwe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here.
Let me welcome the unquestionable independent-minded Robert Glickman Gagwa Jr., who is joining me here from Atlanta. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you, my dear brother. It's a pleasure to be on.
All right. Let me welcome the math guru. He's the progenitor of the African Math Genius Project, Mr. Kalebo Gonglo. Mr. Gonglo, welcome to the show. You are muted.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm excited to share the platform with this great guy, and I'm actually prepared to go into this issue because this is all about the future of Liberia. 2023 is a defining moment, the any other moment in the history of Liberia for that country forward movement. And I'm happy to share the platform. I'm happy to participate, to also put in all my best I can as far as I know. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is focused on Liberia. We receive request upon request. Say we want focus on Liberia to say something about what's going on. This is like a new political theater or arena, as Mr. Eastman said. Let me start with, I know Robert may not stay too long with us. He's in flight somewhere. Robert, let me start with you heard the press conference. Of late, we are accustomed to what Mr. Costa 2 months ago was crying about. Man can talk all. Did man talk all today?
Absolutely. I think that not only did he talk all, I think he went beyond all. I think he extensively spoke about his experience with with Joseph Boakai and the Unity Party. And a lot was said, a lot to unpack. I think that we will be having these discussions throughout the week. Of course, we are in a political season, and so these things are very important. But so something important that I want to address. The question now is, why should Henry Costa be believed? And that question is coming directly from the Unity Party partisans. And here is a question to them. Why shouldn't Henry Costa be believed? Because a few weeks ago, I know many of them who basically insulted people who questioned things that Henry Costa said about Alice Cummings, for instance. I know many of them who basically said to us that Henry Costa's mouth was gospel and that anything that comes from him should not be questioned. And so today the question I asked them, why should we suddenly join you in questioning what comes out of Henry Costa's mouth? But then, as you know, because of the position that I play in my company, I'm not going to specifically mention names, but there are a lot of things he said today. And now the Unity Party must come out and debunk what Henry Costa said with facts. Here is one thing that caught my attention. He mentioned names and he mentioned locations. Henry Costa mentioned today that Joseph Boakai committed to making him vice president in exchange for the $30 million. He said on that basis, there was a meeting arranged at the Marriott Hotel in Kotoko International Airport in Ghana.
Boakai.
And the meeting was held. Well, I want to challenge Joseph Boakai and the Unity Party people, if you say we must not believe what Henry Costa said, can you come on national radio and definitively deny that Joseph Boakai was at that particular location on the date that was stated today? Because we got confirmation that indeed he was. In fact, there are people from the party who have now admitted that Joseph Boakai did attend a meeting. And if he did attend a meeting, Dennis John, I'm not the smartest kid on the block. And I'm on this platform with some very intelligent big brothers. I want you to think about this. If Liberia is not for sale, if Henry Costa said, I will not accept $30 million in interest of me running my own presidential campaign, but I want you to direct that fund in supporting Joseph Boakai because I'm committed to supporting Joseph Boakai, and Joseph Boakai understands the laws of our country, why would anyone who has no interest in collecting such a money for foreigners fly from Liberia, go to Ghana, book his hotel, and actually attend such a meeting? Then I must ask, what is the basis? Why did he attend that meeting if he had no interest in collecting this $30 million? So let me lay on this note.
Yeah, please.
There are a lot of things to question, Dennis, but the Unity Party people must decide. They cannot have the cake and eat it too. Either Henry Costa is a pathological liar when he associated himself with Joseph Boakai, or he's not a pathological liar now. But they can't have both.
Thank you. Mr. Victor Nambwe, there were a lot of expectations. I think you heard that Mr. Costa was coming out to speak on these issues. And there were a lot of speculation. Some say he was going to endorse the CDC. Some say he was going to endorse Joseph Newman Boakai. Some say he was going to endorse Councillor Tiabon Gonglo. Some say he was going to announce his own presidential run. You heard all those things. What were your expectations, and were the questions you had answered?
Well, he actually did provide a lot of information. I mean, he claims to have the text messages to prove some of what he was saying. So he named names, provided locations where the meetings were held. He named dates when the meetings were held. And so there is a lot out there. And I think it is not enough for the United Party or the rescue team to issue such a statement as forgiving him, as I have heard. I think really the onus is on them now to come out and debunk these assertions that were made today by Henry Costa. Just like Robert said, they have been urging us to believe this man when he was talking about other candidates. And so now he has come out and he's spewing all of this information. And now they're telling us, to just brush it off. Oh, he's a liar. He's a kid. He's immature. He's infantile and all of that. But he did provide dates. He did provide facts that I believe would be difficult for the rescue team to dispute. Now,
you said he provided facts? I didn't get that correct.
I mean, he provided, he provided dates and he named names to me.
Anybody can call a date. So,
I'm sorry?
I say anyone can call a date.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying now. The ball is not in their court to come and dispute all of the assertions that he made today. Okay. Until they do that, I am inclined to consider those as facts until they can come and debunk them. Because if you tell me, that this person was in this meeting and on this date at this place, I will have to assume that you're telling me the facts.
But it's been verified. It's been verified. They have admitted that, yes, he was at that hotel that day.
Hold on, Robert.
There you go. Robert. There you go. So I think what he left open is the very question that you closed your statement with. What is he going to do now? And I think the one thing I would have to tell Henry, if I were to ever give him advice as a young brother, politics really, yes, you must have a position, you must have a principle to work from. But, operating in such absolute terms sometimes can be very difficult. he has been very, very vocal against some of the leading candidates now, and that's going to give him a difficult time if he were, for instance, to decide to lean towards Ellis Comics, because he has said some really very, very, very hard to hear things about comics. So how is he going to do that? Is he going to go to CDC? He has said some things about President Weah. So the question now remains, what is he going to do? And I hope this is really a lesson learned moment for him going forward. As a young brother, you politics is relative. Yes, you must be principled. You must not bend from your principle. But notwithstanding, it's about numbers. You have to be able to collaborate with other people, and so you have to always make sure you're balancing it out. And I think he boxed himself in for quite a while, and so that's going to be difficult for him to emerge out of it. But yes, there are opportunities out there. I believe there will be people who will be willing to welcome Henry into their fold.
Thank you, Mr. Gonglo. Well, we've heard Costa many times. Today, this was my first time hearing him speak on behalf of the ALP. He has spoken on behalf of himself or the COP. I don't know if he's a ranking member of the ALP because we have the chairman, we have all the party hierarchy. What was Costa doing speaking for ALP? Did that surprise you?
He's a ranking member of the ALP. I think he said that many times in the public. He's a ranking member of the ALP. He's not an elected official, but like many political parties, they bring in people, influential people, to put them on the National Executive Committee or on the advisory team. Yeah, he's a ranking member of the ALP.
But was that surprising that an official of the ALP is not speaking, and and someone who really did not identify the position he's holding in ALP was speaking on behalf of the ALP? Was that something outside of a party normal structure that you and I know?
Yeah, Dennis, I think because he's a central figure in the role the ALP played in the making of Joseph Boakai, I think it was befitting for him to be the one to speak on that matter, as opposed to the party chairman or the party secretary general. I mean, it's an internal strategy. I'm not a member of the ALP, but this is why I assume those were probably the strategy that went into saying that.
Or were they telegraphing some subliminal message to us? I mean,
yeah, possible. That could be like a shadow that
right.
This is probably the new leadership of the ALP that is on the horizon.
Yeah,
it's possible.
No, Jimmy.
No, but Dennis, I wanted to pick on few things.
Go ahead.
My brother Gagwa and Victor said earlier. I don't agree with those of you who say Dennis Costa said all. I think Costa he didn't talk all today. I think he still stuck to that mantra, man can talk all. He didn't talk all today because he made references to text messages. He said there are a couple of things he indicated on his show, because I follow him most time, that he didn't even mention today, So, but here is what I would say. Like Gagwa said earlier, the fact that Boakai will accept to go to a meeting that United Party people say today was a scam, the fact that he will accept and agree that this was a good meeting to attend, I think it tells a lot about his character and judgment.
But that's Costa's side of the story. We have
no. There's one thing Costa said in the press conference today. Dennis, you didn't play that part. He said when he felt pushed under the bus by Ambassador Boakai at a meeting in Ghana, there was a teleconference between Joseph Boakai Jr., Ambassador Boakai, Louis Tama, and himself. If you follow that point, right. And he said in that teleconference,
he blasted
Ambassador Boakai did apologize to him.
Right. That's his Costa version.
No, it's still his version. But for me, part of my body is telling me that there might be a recording to that teleconference. Part of my body is telling me that. But I was not part of that. I will not go that far. Because the fact that there was bad blood developing And it resulted in that teleconference. Part of me telling me, knowing what I know in the digital age, there will be a digital footprint to that meeting. So people should be careful how they go after Henry on that. It's just a warning. The other thing I will end on this. We all know this Nigerian 419. In the 90s, 419ers were a big business in Nigeria. It's still happening. There was a Nigerian guy who was a foreign minister. I just forgot his name. During our crisis, very eloquent foreign minister. I listened to him a lot. And there was an interview he did on BBC. I believe that was in 1995 or 94, around there. This was what he said to Western governments when they were pressing the Nigerian government to arrest Nigerian citizens who duped Western citizens. He said to them, the Nigerian government, will not arrest Nigerian citizens. Because you should arrest your citizens first, then we will arrest our citizens. Because first, your citizens agreed to connive with a Nigerian to dupe the central bank. Because usually the 419 story will be like, my father was this, he died, he left this money in the central bank. I just need this one to take that money from the central bank, right? And people will go and buy and pay that money. So the foreign minister's defense was, your citizens agreed to dupe the Nigerian government. It's just that our citizens are smarter than. So if we arrest them for agreeing to go into a criminal scheme, then we'll arrest our citizens. This is what I will say on this. Those who want to go after this, they must agree. If they say this was a scam, but their guy agreed to go in a scam.
Thank you. Jimmy, definitely, Costa had been saying a lot of things. He took almost a year or plus on Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings saying all kinds of things. Now, some in the ANC would say that was all lie and rubbish, but now giving credence to what he's saying against JMB, right? Which Costa should we believe, and which Costa did we see today?
Very good. I must admit, the brother has what we call the gift of gab. He can be eloquent, and he knows how to go after somebody. So he's very strategic. So whenever he comes out to say anything, he's doing it for a specific purpose. Now I have to join Gongo on this. I think he left way too much information out for me to not completely understand his motive here. Other than he has some misfeelings from being left out of the vice presidency. First of all, he refers to the group. He doesn't tell us who the group is. Are they foreigners? I don't know how my brother Robert deduced that they were foreigners, but who can come up with $30 million in Liberia? Definitely not an ordinary Liberian. So it either has to be the government itself.
They check into the hotel. I got the information.
Okay.
Please share with us.
Okay. It either had to be the government.
Allow me to, Dennis. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So what kind of information you got?
Confidentiality will not allow me to. I'm sorry. I don't want to put myself in trouble.
Okay. But here's the thing. I don't argue that Boakai attended. I'm concerned, first of all, why the names of this group is not disclosed. If you're coming, full 100% truth, why are you holding back some information, key information? And that subtracts from your credibility. Second of all,
Jimmy, if I can just
hold on,
I want to hear Jimmy because he's asking a polemic question. Why he's coming out? I think objective. You look at I think in my mind, in my judgment, the objective of Costa today was to basically let the public know it was Ambassador Boakai that abandoned the ALP and not the ALP. I think that was the objective, really.
Let Jimmy
who abandoned us on your principle.
Yeah, hold on, let Jimmy start.
Yes. So the fact that I don't know the names of this group that he claims offered 30 million, I'm suspect. Number one. Number two, if any group will offer that much money, they want something in return. So, according to his narrative, that they came to him, they had studied him, his profile, his popularity, and said that he would be good. But they must have put some cards on the table. They won't just blindly offer him 30 million. What did they want in return? Only later on in his deliberation, we heard that the Gualagisi Mountain was on the table. When did that mountain get? Did Boakai introduce that element, or was it already sought after by this group? So, because there's a couple of loopholes in the whole discussion, for me, I can't. I have to take it all with a grain of salt. I'm not pro UP because I think UP must have been very gullible because last year, last election, Costa said that JNB was a dead man walking, and all of a sudden they're in bed with him. So I see a lot of connivance on both sides, on the UP side, on the Costa side. Everybody is conniving to advance their own interests. And the fact that what they did to Cummings as when they came together to form this CPP, and all of a sudden they went after Cummings as an enemy. You and somebody come together to achieve a goal, and you go after one other teammate as if that they were an enemy. I knew this group was a toxic group. So the fact that it has now come down to Costa versus UP, betrayal and dismay, I'm not surprised because these elements been existing in this group for some time now. So it was just a matter of time that we see that toxicity effervesce and show us what is going on in the whole coalition. So
that is before Thomas comes in, if you don't mind. Let me just quickly. Isn't it concerning that, first of all, the vice president, right? I mean, the UP people boast of his experience in government, right? And this man was vice president of the country for 12 years. He cannot lobby for himself. He would depend on Henry Costa to bring money to the table.
So,
I mean,
that's one. I don't know if that is true, right? Because
yeah, well, if it is true,
Costa's side.
Yes, and
yeah, that's Costa version.
Yeah, and that's one. Two, like Jimmy just said, that's a significant amount of money. What was that money buying? In our ballot politics, that is also very concerning.
And that is not concerning for Mr. Costa. Let me go to Jimmy. We'll come to that question of 30 million. Mr. Cannon, what is Costa trying to accomplish in this press conference here? And what does it say about Costa on one hand and also Boakai on the other hand? But the first thing here is, what is Costa trying to achieve here?
So to me, I think we need to situate this press conference in the larger scheme of the 2023 elections. And I think when it is situated in that scheme, then we can better interpret the text of what Henry Costa wrote. This is still a fallout from the former VP selection of a running mate. To be frank with you, if Senator Yombly Kanga Lawrence had decided to go another way or to break away from Honorable Boakai, they would have written a press statement to say exactly what the issues were and why they are leaving. So I think, to me, this press statement is more like Costa saying, here is the reason I'm leaving. And on the point that was raised earlier, I think Henry Costa have always had a trust deficit. It is often the case that when he's supporting one group of people, they then try to believe him at that point in time. But for the many decades that he has been around politics, he has some trust issues. And I want to go back to the point that Mr. Eastman raised. If you go to the press conference, much of the beginning part of the press statement is the history, how the CPP came together and all of these political manipulations or games that were being played in the background. But the bedrock of it, or his reason why he has decided to come out to speak today, the bedrock of it is on the selection of the VP. And when you say a group of serious and influential people, then of course, these people will have to be part of the body politics of Liberia, because it is easily not possible for foreigners to fly from somewhere else to just go into Liberia and conduct a survey to test which political actor has the ability to win an election. It is possible in instances for a political actor or a political party to hire external firms or political consultants to come and do these surveys. But the way he posts it in his text, that these people are serious and influential political actors, then they must be part of the body politics of Liberia. And they met with him at a hotel in Liberia after they've conducted their survey. So like he was saying, I don't think enough information is in here. To me, that is a major question mark as to who these people are. When did they conduct this survey? Who did they speak to? And then from there, they now transition to go to Ghana and have this meeting, which has been part of our body politics in Liberia. Because if you go back to even the 2011 election or the 2005 election, many political actors in Liberia often take their meetings to Ghana. There was this famous story of George Weah and the former head of the Liberty Party, Councillor Broskin, and George Weah and Unity Party having meetings. So much of these meetings are removed from Monrovia, but held in Ghana, but they are held by political actors who are in Liberia. And you know, this issue is a press statement that has come out, but again, when you look at the broader context of it and some of the rumors that have been coming out, then you start to connect points. It has been rumored in the past that Henry Costa was working with the CDC in the background and all of that. And then when you start to raise this issue, and the question he was asking is, let's go step by step. Who is it that has $30 million to give to Henry Costa? Is it going to be, is it Mr. Cummings? I can say no. Because since the CPP days, he has been at loggerhead with the CPP when they left with Mr. Alexander Cummings. Is it Councillor Gongolo? Does he have $30 million to offer Costa to run as president? No. So who is it? Where is the money coming from? So to me, I think there are broader questions here, and there are some issues that we need to bring into the context here to be able to really figure out whether Henry Costa is saying the truth, or because he wasn't selected. Even when you go through the press statement, he said when he told Ure and Telia that the vice president was considering him, he said none of them believe that he will pick me, truthfully. So even them did not believe. And I know there have been some conspiracy theories that people are playing double games and all of that. So I just thought to bring these aspects to A and to just say that believing everything that is in this press statement, we need to be a little bit careful, because I think Costa, he has really grown in our political space, but he has always had an issue of trust.
Thank you.
Yeah, being careful is good, but
I want to come to you, Mr. Nawe.
Yes.
Because I don't know why this 30, right? Because my Bible tells me that Judas was given 30 pieces of silver. And so this was 200 BC. So I was thinking maybe today's equivalent would be 30 million. So why this 30? But on a serious note, why was Mr. Henry Pedro Costa chosen as a target for this 30 pieces of silver? Is it because it's the weakest link that is bribable, that can be bought? Or is it that he stands the best chance to win as a political, as president? Why? Right? And why did he? Because he rejected it not based on loyalty for the country, because people are coming, definitely, if these are business people, they are buying you. They are giving this in exchange. He did not reject it based on loyalty to the country to say, no, I'm not going to sell my country, but it was based on loyalty to Mr. Boakai.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if we can characterize what he did as a rejection. He accepted the offer. He just
redirected, right?
Yeah, redirected it to according to him, to the former vice president.
Is that equivalent to treason?
No.
No.
I don't know what that's equivalent to.
If somebody is bribing you, I'm going to pay you 30 million so that you can be president and do what I want.
Right.
Isn't that a selling of the country? You don't think
That's interference in the political affairs of the country. That also is a violation of the law.
Correct. But I was going to say too, though, while we may be questioning some of the revelations by Costa today, we have to also reflect on some of the things that he said.
Right.
Have we not seen some of them happening? I mean, we all know Senator Lawrence almost left the United Party.
Thank
Do
you.
we agree? I mean, hence the visit.
I want you to speak to the 30 million. Really.
Yeah.
I want you to answer my question if you can.
Uh-huh.
Why you want to restrict him to the
Because that's what I want to do. That's the question I want to ask him. If he can't answer it, it's okay. I'm fine with that. But I want him to address that.
And what is it you want me to answer about the 30
The
million?
30 million. Why was Costa a target of this 30 million? Because they can buy him. And is this equivalent to selling the country?
I don't know. I think it was Thomas who alluded to probably they may have had some survey or whatever it is. I don't know. I mean, people do all kinds of polling. So,
yeah, but what he's saying is that they say we'll give you 30 million if to become president, we'll do everything. Right. And he agreed to that. The only thing is, because I'm loyal to Boakai, so I'm redirecting this 30 million to Boakai.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
And I don't know. I have no answer for that.
Okay.
But I mean, I can partly try to address that question. Okay. They said they did a survey of the players in the political arena, and he was popular. They saw him as popular. But another aspect of Henry Costa is also he's a player. He has changed sides. Today he's loyal to VP Boakai, but in 2017,
to Urine, I think.
Yeah, he was Urine. So when did this loyalty develop?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when people tell you things about their loyalty, that this, just look at the track record. So from 2017 to 2022-3, this loyalty has developed all of a sudden. It wasn't there before, but all of a sudden it has developed.
I wouldn't even count 2017, Jimmy, because 2017 he was supporting George Weah.
That's right. Even when George Weah first came to power, he was.
That's not 2017. He was not supporting George Weah. 2017, in the first round, I was in Monrovia. I was not in the U.S. In the first round, Bernard Ure was on the ballot, so he was campaigning for Bernard Ure. In fact, that's how he ferociously went after VP Boakai and called him, he's a dead man walking.
Correct.
Okay? And that's how he even coined the
bottom line, he was not
wicked ticket.
Okay? Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So in the second round, he said Weah was so terrible that he has said worse things about Weah and worse things about Boakai. And he didn't see it's now a binary choice. He didn't know how to navigate between the two. And I will tell you this, and he disclosed it on his show before. It was he went to Councilor Gonglo's house Sunday morning, very early in the morning, and said, look, we have a binary choice here. I don't know how to do it, but I must be an active player in the runoff election. And Councilor Gonglo said to him, the way you address this is just call one person Poison and the other one Jolobo, saying you have been on the extreme side. So Jolobo is better, is not good, but at least you can get well at some point. The Poison,
Mr. Gonglo will get the
that's
point.
how Henry Costa came. He disclosed that.
So
thank you
for the correction, Caleb. But the point I was making was
he switched sides a lot.
Yeah, exactly. He has played pretty
much.
That's
why many liberal political actors.
Go ahead, Victor. So that's the point he was making.
That is the point I was making, and I am just making the bigger point that when did he become so loyal to this one candidate to the point where he got $30 million? I mean, obviously, he was driven by other motives.
Exactly. This loyalty couldn't have just all of a sudden appear, unless you are gullible enough to believe that in 5 years he's developed this great loyalty that he's willing to give up his presidential aspirations, give up $30 million, even if he doesn't win. Then people weren't going to hold him to win. He could have gotten that money and ran and lost and still be okay. But he's so loyal today, not that he will give up all that for the sake of being loyal to the VP. So
Robert, to what extent is the hurt from not being picked or the picking of Jeremiah Cohn? To what extent does it have to do with this? That is the press conference today.
I think that it has a lot to do with Joseph Boakai's judgment. I would
mean the press conference. What pushed that? Is it because definitely Jeremiah Cohn was picked over Henry Costa? Is it the hurt? Is it just a fallout?
Well,
because if this thing has not happened, will Costa be making these statements today?
It's a fallout, but what we did not know until today, Dennis, is that there were conversations held, where, as Henry Costa stated today, where he expressed his disappointment in Joseph Boakai's deportment in that meeting that occurred in Accra, where he basically badmouthed Costa and attempted to convince his folks to forget about Henry Costa and just basically deal with him. You know what? You can question Henry Costa's credibility all day. Fine, right?
But do you question his credibility? Do you?
To some extent, I do. Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, we have been insulted by just that. I will state on this public record, I have nothing against Henry Costa. He's a friend. He's a friend. He's a friend that I respect. The guy is talented. He's a talent. He has a voice, and he has a very skillful way of going about communicating what he wants. Right? People respect him in Liberia, like it or not. But I have not always endorsed what Henry Costa has done. I don't support Alice Cummings, but I did not endorse his war of words against Alice Cummings. I thought that there were better ways that they could have gone about it. But I want to focus more so not just on Henry Costa's credibility issues. Let's focus more so on Joseph Boakai's judgment and those around him, even knowing that Henry Costa lacked credibility. None of these guys question Henry Costa's credibility when the institution Unity Party literally delivered Joseph Boakai in the hands of a man they now want us to believe lacks credibility. Where were the voices in the Unity Party when Henry Costa basically picked up Joseph Boakai from the airport, basically conducted his errands in this country whenever he came, drove in his car around. The institutions could not afford to put Joseph Boakai in hotels. The institution could not afford to make sure that the former vice president had his own vehicle. Where were these people when Henry Costa were buying plane tickets? We are talking about an institution. Joseph Boakai does not make personal trips in these United States. These trips were being made to be one that focus on official trip for Unity Party. So when we talk about why Henry Costa lacking credibility, let's talk about what does that say about Joseph Boakai's judgment.
Right.
Number one. Number two, let me say this. You can talk about the $30 million all day. I want us to go back to the point. It's a violation of the laws. Forget Henry Costa. Let's look at a man who is already almost 80 years old, a man who's been in public service for all these years, and a man who understands the law in our country. If a little boy,
why do you want to forget Costa though?
No, but I don't want us to just focus on Costa's.
No, we are not judged, but I want you to balance it, right? Why can't we focus on both?
But Dennis, it's a fair question that Mr. Gagwa is talking about. It's a fair
putting
question.
more emphasis.
Henry Costa is not running for president.
We're putting more emphasis on Henry Costa's action and his lack of credibility. Henry Costa is not on the ballot for running for president. Henry Costa is not the elder in the room. Joseph Boakai is over 20-some years or 30 years older than Henry Costa. So are you going to allow a little boy pull you by the nose, even at the detriment of breaking the laws in our country, when you have stated that you're going to be the president that respects law? What are they trying to change from the CDC government? What are they trying to rescue when a man of Joseph Boakai's caliber can go to a meeting, meet with foreigners, okay, talk about $30 million, auctioning the Wologisi Mountains that under the Unity Party were estimated to be worth over $50 billion? Let's talk about Joseph Boakai's judgment here. You can't tell me someone lacks credibility and you allow them to go to bed with someone who wants to be president and who does not, who is a credible person. This Joseph Boakai man lacks credibility. He's always had problem with his decision making, and I think this is concerning.
Thank you.
Dennis, can I make a point?
I'm coming to you, Thomas. But Robert, what I'm trying to do here is let's talk both. I don't want us to say, let's leave this one or let's forget this one and talk this one. Let's talk all. Mr. Kenneth, did Mr. Boakai bring this upon himself? And I ask this because, number one, he cried full mouth. That is, oh, I don't have money. So somebody always has to pick up the tab. Number two, embracing Costa, who has literally denigrated him prior. And I asked this to one of the Boakai, this was, I think, the head of the tag team. He's always embracing people that will denigrate him prior. Is it desperation or is it reconciliation? So did Boakai actually bring this upon himself based on the way he has conducted himself?
Yeah, before I come to that question, I think if Robert says he has trust issues with Henry Costa, but then he goes to the speech and believes every line that he says, then it's a contradiction of the point that you had made earlier. You said you don't trust him, you have trust issues with him. But everything he posts, no, let me, please, you will come back. Everything that he says in the press statement, you happen to believe it because it's said against former President Joseph Numa Boakai. This is why I keep saying that we have to situate this press release in the larger context of the scheme of things that have happened since the 2017 election onto this point. I agree with the point Dennis was making. It came to a point where when Mr. Ure in the CPP openly said that he wasn't running for president and he put himself out of that race, he became a very close confidant of Joseph Numa Boakai. And this is where this whole Costa factor came in. And I agree with anybody who says that point. It came to a point where it was as if Costa was the spokesperson of the Unity Party. The party structure itself was backpedaling. Unity Party was ahead of them. You remember even when the vice president got sick and was taken to the hospital, it was Costa posting and doing everything. I agree to that point. We also have to agree because there's a question about why he went to this meeting in Ghana. We all watched these pictures that came out when he made a trip to Nigeria. That was a trip that was organized, I think, basically by the Ure family.
In a private jet.
In the private jet. So this is what I'm saying, that these things were all building up. To me, one of the major issues that happened was that when this selection was done, the influence of the ALP in that friendship, in that arrangement, happened to have diminished. And this is where Henry Costa really started to get angry, because I'm not sure internally when you listen to people who were even around the Unity Party, they were not very satisfied with the way things were being handled because they wanted the party to be in charge rather than having Henry Costa like he is in charge of everything that was happening in the party. So I agree to that point. Some of the things that the vice president did, I mean, some of the backlashes that he had when he came here, they were playing pool, they took picture of him in the basement. These are lashes that he took. And I think he managed to have learned some lessons from there by himself. But again, to just discuss it and leave that broader context is something I wanted to bring back. So again, I mean, this is something that the vice president needs to take into consideration to allow the party structure to take charge. And I think this is what that happened onto that selection of the vice president. And Henry Costa, I'm not sure, was very happy about that.
And I think the point that Thomas and
Hold on,
Robert,
let Calebo come in. Let Calebo come in, Victor.
Dennis, I think we need to be fair to this discussion. If we're going to premise our discussion on the press statement today, then we have to remember most of the things Costa said. Like Thomas is saying, I mean, to a larger extent, it's true, but Costa was very clear. He revealed, he said it was not even just about himself being a vice presidential running mate to Boakai. He said it. He said even at some point, they offered Cyril Beslow. And he even said, if you take Yombly, that I'm fine with it. But he was very clear, quietly, internally to him, that to have the Prince Johnson / Jeremiah Kuhn nexus bill is something that he was not going to compromise his principle on that. He was very clear on that. He went one step further. He said after the 4 hours of the CPP, which he revealed that Ambassador Boakai instructed Bernard Yure to take charge, and saying he was the chairman of the CPP, he could not be the first to strike Ellis' comments, but Yure should do it. He said after they successfully broke down the CPP, or they left the CPP, Boakai then approached Bernard Yure and said, let's find a new alternative. The idea of the DAL, the Democratic Alliance of Liberia, came to being. I watched a video, not secondhand, when people went there to sign the aspiration document, that they agreed to be part of that. Even political parties that were just proposed, like the economic freedom fighter of Yemaya Gonkwe, all of them signed. Dr. How do you call it? Jeremiah Wapo, they all signed. Alara Tokpa, and according to Costa today, Professor Alara Tokpa is alive, and I hope he can be honest on this. Bernard Yure approached Professor Alara Tokpa and said, hey, please, let's work together. That's what the ambassador has proposed. And they started to work together. It's also a public knowledge that the Secretary General of Unity Party, Amos Toy, and the Secretary General of the New Deal Movement, I'm the chairman of the New Deal Movement, I just forgot his name. They had a clash where Amos Toy said to him, the Unity Party does not need alliance, we don't need collaboration, we just need supporters to join us. We can make this. That's how the DAL broke down. In fact, from other sources, there was a meeting where Ambassador Boakai was in that meeting when elements of the Unity Party literally tried to diminish the stand of Larry Tokpa and others, that they didn't need them. They have no track record of winning, and they walk away from them. Costa was very clear on this. So let us be clear. Let's say, and he said, look, if you go with this, I'm not going to support you. He said it, and he said this quietly to Boakai, that if this is your choice, there are many other choices that you can go with. If you go with this choice, I'm not going to be with you. He said it. His level ambassador Boakai will say, no, Costa didn't give me that full warning. And Costa also said while they were in our DAL formation, there was a new group headed by Kofi Woods, Brandon Samoka, or Numale, who were now the new architect around Boakai, and say, let's recall the name. I just forgot the name. They created
Grand Alliance.
The Great Alliance.
Grand Alliance.
Yes. They created that and decided to push away the Democratic Alliance. And you know what? We don't need to look for paper trail, Dennis. The fact is, there was an announcement made by Alara Tokpa, and Unity Party and other parties went and signed the document publicly that they were working on the Democratic Alliance. Yes. To my knowledge, to the knowledge
so what's your point?
Alara Tokpa met some folks in the LPP and
Right,
asked them
Mr.
to come
Gonglo.
to the DAL. Why the
Mr.
why the
Gonglo.
DAL did not succeed? It's
Right.
because of Costa alluded to today. So
Mr.
that
Gonglo,
this
are
should
you
be
saying?
nice than to just come after this guy in the way you're doing business. And I think that's been biased of you actually.
No, hold on, Mr. Gonglo. So, with all that you stated, what is your point? Is it because Costa said it is true, or are you saying that because Costa alluded to it, so that's true?
No, not
No,
because
but Dennis, I keep reminding us we have to reflect too and see whether there are any coincidences in some of the facts that Costa. We know that Alari called a press conference and they announced the Democratic Alliance. We know that.
No, we know that, but still, I want to make it a conspiracy that because this happened, because there was an alliance that broke down, so it means X, Y, Z is true. Because that still doesn't give us, any fact to say that.
No, but let me jump in there. Let me know, Dennis. Allow me to jump in. What Costa did today also corroborated a lot of other suspicions. You see, you look at people action. If you really want to know who people are, what they do, you look at their actions. Their actions tell more about who they are than what comes out of their mouths. When the CPP had it started, when this rift occurred, it was under VP Boakai leadership that the rift occurred, and he had addressed the press before that he was going to handle it. But you can see he never came out with any public statements. He never showed effort to try to patch the rift. So he's always been one who allows things to happen and he stays in the background. And he corroborated that today. He said he asked Ura to go ahead. So he was always the puppeteer in the background, manipulating the situation. So when we talk about VP Buckeye, no one should be surprised. Politicians do manipulate the situation. That is very typical of a politician. And if you think you have a politician who doesn't know how to manipulate a way, I can show you somebody who never went very far in politics. So what Boakai brings is years of experience in politicking, in social, in engineering, and all of that. So we shouldn't be surprised at a lot of these things. The thing about it is, what Costa said today, he was betrayed. But when you did it to Cummings, you didn't think that was betrayal? You've been doing this betrayal, been the signature of your whole coalition. And you shouldn't be expect what goes around comes around. Should be no surprise to anybody.
Thank you. Victor, you're coming in.
No, I was just trying to accentuate the points raised by Robert and Thomas, and now Jimmy, about the vice president's decision making. I mean, really, he leaves a trail of disappointments in his wake. I mean, we can go from as the recent elections, the selection of his running mate, and we know how and where that went. Now, Jimmy was just talking about how they exited the CPP. Of course, there were a lot of us who really held out hope that because his vice president and elderly statesman is in the midst of this is the best ticket that can take on this current government and take us to victory. You understand me? I mean, he squandered all the opportunities available to him, and that whole thing went to wreck. Not only did it not go to wreck, he actually turned up in court to go and testify against one of his own colleagues in the CPP.
Right.
Now, look how he handled this whole vice presidential selection. I mean, yes, Henry Costa may have embellished some of the stuff. I don't know, but I mean, we can tell some of the freaking deduce from some of the stuff he said. Jimmy used the word corroborate some of the stuff that he said. I mean, we do know that Yomli Kanga threatened she was not going to the announcement ceremony. We heard that she wasn't happy. Eventually, I think they were able to assuage her. But Henry Costa and Ure, they said that they stood their ground. They had stood their guns and they refused to go. And he was not able to hold that together. So now you're talking about leading a whole country. When have we ever seen or heard this vice president take a position on anything?
Right, and that's.
He was in the CPP where Henry was running rings around him and bashing Arizona Cummings day in, day out, making it virtually impossible for them to ever collaborate. And he said nothing.
Right. And so that's my question, right? And Mr. Galabo, I want you to answer that before I go to Cannon, right? Because what you're saying is how to call in law circumstantial evidence. Because we're talking about, and Jimmy talked about corroboration. There was a man in my town when I was growing up, didn't go to school, but he was a master of politics. He said, if you want to lie on any two people, wait until you see them standing together. Let them visit each other. So when you lie on them, people ask, but were you there? Did you visit him? So when you say yes, say okay. So we are saying the way Boakai has been behaving give us the signal that what Costa said is true, even though we don't have any facts, we don't have any evidence. But the fact that Boakai does not take decision or he doesn't take leadership role, he's not definite on these issues. So we're saying because of that behavior or because the way he acted in XYZ situation, so this is true. Is that the connection you're making, or we have facts? Okay, example, because DAL did not succeed, and because Boakai went to Ghana, or because he was sick, so this got to be true.
I don't know why no corroboration. I mean, Dennis, you're enumerating that. Yeah, DL did. Where did DL go? Nowhere. He was in
so
there.
Because of that,
where did the CPP go? Where did the CPP go? Nowhere. He was in there. I mean, I don't know what else you're looking for.
No, I don't want assumption that because this happened, correlation does not always mean causation.
No, but these things did not go anywhere. Isn't that corroboration in itself? Where is the DAL today?
Nowhere.
He was supposed to lead. He was supposed to lead that coalition. Where is it?
I get your point. Because it's nowhere. So what Costa is saying is true.
No, I am talking about his ability to manage. I'm not necessarily.
So because he cannot manage. So everything Costa is saying is true.
Not everything. And I keep saying we can look to what he said and reflect on what has happened since this whole saga, and we can pinpoint to some of the things that he is saying that will corroborate what he's saying. Like, for instance,
but I can watch your behavior and still lie on you. Does that mean it's true? I can say, well, Jimmy live, Victor lived New Jersey, and I saw Robert in New Jersey. So the two of them, they did this, right?
Yeah, but Dennis, if you're known to lie on other people, and Mr. Victor still allows you or allows himself to be closely associated with him, then it says less about you and more about Victor. That's the point that we're making here about Joseph.
No, and I get that point. But that still doesn't establish any fact. We are still.
But we know one fact, though, Dennis. We know one fact. The meeting did occur. He checked in the hotel.
But what was the meeting about? Do we know?
It's a fact.
So Boakai will explain what the meeting was about.
And we'll come to that, right?
But I think
yes, it's a minute to it.
But because the meeting took place, so whatever Costa say about that meeting is true. I think that's a little bit of
the question is,
no, but Dennis, you also
you
forgetting the fact that there has been.
I just wanted to interject.
But Dennis, may I have 1 minute?
No, hold on. Let Calabo come. Calabo is making some charges here.
Dennis, your question is, why should we believe Costa? Is that your question? Is that essentially what you're asking?
No, that's not what I'm asking.
What is your question?
Oh, I see what Victor was talking for you. My question is, where is the evidence that Costa is presenting? Or you are saying it based on Boakai behavior or what Boakai did? For instance, because a meeting happens in Ghana, so whatever Costa is reporting about that meeting is true.
Dennis, we would say it will believe it until the United Party people can come out and say it is not true.
And we'll come to that.
Yeah, but Dennis, let me help. I want to help him out because your question is
let me talk.
If again, I'm looking at behavior. I'm looking at what Costa said on one end, and I'm looking at behavior on the other. Costa said one more other thing, that he wanted VP Boakai wanted to be coronated. He used that word. He wanted to be coronated. In other words, he doesn't really want to vie for a candidacy or leadership in any alliance. He wants them to simply come under him and promote him as the standard bearer. That is why you saw the collapse of those other two coalitions. It is because of this sort of despotic type of coronation he's looking toward. That's why these alliances are not lasting. So that's handwriting on the wall that, you know, he wants the coronation. That's why the alliances don't last. So Costa said one thing, and behavior proved what Costa is saying. Okay, and similarly, we were talking about other measures. Did he go to Ghana? Well, let's look at the behavior.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
And because he went to Ghana, so even when you say he stole chicken in Ghana, it's true.
Well, he was in Ghana the date that Costa mentioned for that meeting, Dennis.
I agree. I agree. Because he was there on that date Costa mentioned, he was wearing the suit that Costa mentioned. It means XYZ took place.
Of course, he mentioned that he got on the conference call with his son. Why can his son come out and deny that conference call did not occur?
Dennis, can I make a point?
Every time he
There's some names.
I mean, like I said earlier, political actors in Liberia meeting in Ghana is much more a practice in Liberia's politics.
But that's not the point.
No, I'm coming. Just for you to make a point that because he went to Ghana to a meeting and therefore everything that Costa said is true, you cannot, that line of reasoning cannot hold.
But
Like
the
I said,
can
I just finish? Can I just finish? Like I said, let's understand that the ALP at that point in time was a very strong ally and very close to Ambassador Boakai. So if Costa called him at that point in time and say, okay, we have friends that want to meet with us in Ghana, and you keep saying that the Unity Party has not come out, the Unity Party had clarified that Ambassador Boakai was called into the meeting, he was offered this money, and he turned down the offer, that he wasn't interested in it. And then it comes back to the point where people are making, and Henry Costa himself makes this point, that he doesn't have money, he needed so much money. So the question is, why is someone who does not have money to run his campaign is turning down $30 million?
So why did he have to go to the meeting to turn down that offer? Why he couldn't turn the offer down on the phone?
It was an invitation by his partner. Remember, he was working with Henry Costa in the ALP.
But it was explained to him before the meeting. He didn't just walk into a private meeting unannounced.
No,
he knew what the meeting was about. The $30 million was explained to him.
The party's position.
Why did you have to attend the meeting to reject that offer?
The party's position is that he did not know what the meeting. They did not explain to him the details of the meeting. He was
so you wanted to believe the party position.
You have said earlier that you know exactly even those people who met with Henry Costa, but you cannot disclose their name.
Because of my position
in many programs, I
cannot disclose the kind of information.
One minute.
I want Gongo to come.
Thomas, we are just making a simple point. Now you've gone like 3 minutes.
No, he's not giving me a chance. And this is one thing I wanted to highlight, that the speech is corroborating a lot of other issues that have been said in the past. People have said that the CDC was behind this issue of this $30 million. Many of the times when Rabo appears, he says he's an independent, people accuse him of being very close to the CDC. He tells us that he knows those people who met with Henry Costa, but he cannot disclose their names because of security reasons.
I have very close friends. No, I have to respond. I got to respond. 30 seconds, please.
Let me finish. And there is one thing.
Go ahead.
There is also another thing that Henry Costa put in his speech, that when Ambassador Boakai left from the US and went back to Liberia, he needed to come back here for some sort of surgery. And you know who was the person who disclosed that information in Liberia? It was the CDC. The CDC youth wing had a press conference that Ambassador Joseph Newman Boakai needed to come here for heart surgery. And the story was that when he comes for the heart surgery, he's not going to survive the heart surgery. So you see how these points are corroborating. And this is the CDC.
No, Thomas, I think that's been disingenuous here.
Thomas,
I have a lot of respect for you. But I think you are going very low on this point because I'm not a seditious.
Mr.
And I can
Gongo.
show you. I
So
can
my
go.
question
I
is,
can
how
go.
is the CDC getting all of this information?
Thomas, I can scout on the. I can search on Facebook and in different chat room. The whole team of Boakai Health did not emanate even from CDC. It has been always in the air. Okay, who first started with Boakai Health issue? It was Prince Johnson. Dennis, I should say in the recording he played. I should say in the recording he played now, please. I can drop it to you. It was not Costa.
Maybe you got that from the chat room.
Prince Johnson who said Boakai is a battery total, that he will soon die. It's there. I can send it now. And now
make your point, Mr. Gonglo.
So no, because I want to let Thomas know on this point. I think you're trying to show a little bias here. You know, I've always looked at someone more or less.
Are you using a bias role tonight? Everybody biased now?
This is what I'm saying, that we have to look at this thing in the larger context. Because there are a lot of suspicions. So for us to just believe what Costa is saying, that's the point I keep bringing forth. That there are too many conspiracy theories around.
The challenge we have in Liberia is the fact that Liberia is a country where many Liberians, ordinary Liberians are very honest people, but many of the politically active young people, and including the old people, many of them are so dishonest that when words come out of their mouth, we distrust each other. Costa was very clear in Surgical today when he spoke. He made references to even WhatsApp messages. Costa was very clear. Dennis, can I learn, please?
Right. I mean, because there was no evidence. Let's establish that, right? There's no evidence. So go ahead.
In the digital age, Dennis, there are many ways you establish evidence. Messages.
Yeah, share it. You can share it.
No, he talked about it. He didn't share. He didn't give it to me. I'm not Costa. I don't have it.
I mean, Costa can share it.
So for example,
it's not enough.
I can share the Prince Johnson voice so you can play it. I think
I even heard it. He said they made a battle total. Even when they asked him recently, he said that was campaign talk.
That was
not campaign time.
That's true. That was out.
That was not campaign time. Thomas, that was not campaign time. We can. I will let you play. I'll play in the chat room on Tough Talking Thursday. I challenge you to play. It was not campaign time.
Actually, Prince Johnson said it. We heard it. It's true.
So let me say this to you.
Mm-hmm.
Costa in the press conference today, and Thomas alluded to that. I made mention of that earlier. He was very clear. Because many people do not stand for principles, when others stand up for principle, even if they have checkered past, when they say something and say, I'm going to dig my heels in the sand for this one, they say, oh, I don't believe it. Because this man has a checkered past, all of a sudden I don't believe he has principle. So all we're saying is, and we can't have it both ways. We can't say, oh, somebody is clean, but all the men allies are corrupt people. Then we say he's still clean. Imad Nukwe, Jeremiah Kun, Ellis Tyler, the list go on. Then we say, oh, but he's clean. He's a laser that is always around the rice kitchen, but we say the laser can eat rice. We will argue that. Here's what Costa said today. He said, and I'll keep repeating myself on this. He said, Boakai, take all the other names the ALP has suggested. If you go with Kun, Prince Johnson Alliance, we are not with you. He didn't stop there. He also went a step further. He said Boakai tested him to say, people say he should not come to America again, where Costa will control his itinerary because Costa planned to pay like American doctors to kill him. Where in the world was that not the highest level of breaking up of the trust? Can somebody say that and you still expect to be in bed with that person, Dennis? Thomas, can somebody accuse you of that? That highest level of this, can you be in bed with that person, Thomas? Let's be fair.
Mr. Gonglo.
So this is
why are we trying to
Dennis. This is exactly the point. This is exactly the point, right?
Mr. Gonglo.
So Costa,
Mr. Gonglo.
on this one,
Mr. Gonglo.
I'm coming.
Mr.
Dennis,
Gonglo.
hold on 1 minute.
You hold on. Because you keep quoting Costa, we all listen to what Costa said. You are saying Costa said this. Costa said this. Hold on. We are not saying Costa said that. We heard it. Why do you believe it is true?
He's standing by
That
it.
is- Are we not
He said it is
aware?
true. He said the reason why I believe it, even if you don't believe Costa on any other thing, he said, I told Boakai, if you go the route, I'm not with you. He had a suggestion here. And followed by that, weeks later, Boakai saying in text, he said, I can't come because I've heard that you have planned to pay doctors to kill me. Costa said he has a text. Dennis, if that is not even a stronger evidence of a breakdown of trust and relationship, because Costa has said, I will not go with you, then
Mr. Gongo, you quoted Costa. Why do you believe what Costa said is true?
Because that the man who has come first to the public to reveal
the first to say. Thank you.
That's all I wanted to reveal why he's now with Boakai.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to hear.
Said anything why he's not consulting the ALP that was used effectively against his opponent.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's all.
I keep reminding you that
gotta go.
There are. Excuse me, Robert. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Robert's got to go so you can. Robert, make your point.
So sorry, but let me say this. I normally don't waste time. You know, this is a sisters network. I'm family here, so I'm no stranger here, right? And I think that other people have heard me on other platforms, and I don't waste time on people's opinions of who they think I'm affiliated with. But let me say this: everyone is entitled to their opinion, not their own facts. Here are the facts. I left Liberia when I was almost when I was like 7 years old.
You were 12.
I've been involved giving back to my country since I graduated with my first degree. That was in 2010. And I've been involved. Let me say this to you. I have friends in the Unity Party that I've met, sat, drunk, ate with. And in that process, I was very clear on my position when it came to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, but I still had those friends. I have friends that I have now in CDC that I had 12 years ago. And for
Robert, let's get to the issue tonight.
One second, please.
Yeah, don't go through that thing.
No, but Thomas mentioned that. I want to be very clear.
No, Thomas said, people accuse you of this. Let's just get to the point here.
I know, but allow me 1 second. Allow me, please. For anyone who thinks that I'm not an independent because of my relationship, speaks to how far back we are. That people cannot disagree on policies or politics to be friends. Anyone who is not on our side must be our enemy. We cannot dinner with them. We cannot have conversations with them. They cannot be our friends. It speaks to the mindset of Liberians. But here is why I believe some of what Henry Costa said today. Henry Costa mentioned specific date when this meeting occurred and location. It has been confirmed that Joseph Boakai was in Accra at the Marriott Hotel on this particular date, and the meeting occurred. That's one. I believe that part of it. Henry Costa did mention that he expressed his disappointment on a conference call with Joseph Boakai's son, Talia Ure, and other people. These individuals are not dead. By the way, one of them are families to Joseph Boakai. If that was a blatant lie, let them come public to debunk Henry Costa's lie with their facts. The burden of proof cannot always be on what Henry Costa said. If you want to question why we believe Henry Costa, then let's also put the burden of proof on the Unity Party. These are grave allegations. We also know that Henry Costa mentioned today that he purchased flights for Joseph Boakai trips in the United States. Those informations are public record. They're out there. Is he lying too? No, we can question who was in the meeting, what was the 30 million for, but for anyone in Unity Party to question Henry Costa's credibility as to why we must not believe him is sickening. Because these very people insulted us when we questioned some of what he said about Alex Cummings, when we questioned some of what he said about about George Weah. Why is it that we must only question Henry Costa when he speaks his truth against Joseph Boakai? Last point I want to make is this. These people are dangerous for the kind of democracy and freedom of speech we aspire in our country. Today, the so-called CPP expelled Henry Costa only after he spoke the truth against Joseph Boakai. This very man was on radio speaking against Alex Cummings. This very man was on radio speaking against George Weah. Why did the CPP not take a stand? Why would the CPP
Robert, your
silence
voice is
and
your
expel
COP.
the COP? I'm sorry. Why would the COP take a stand and expel a man only because he spoke against his candidate? The very United Party refused Estana Barrett to appear on a closing argument on grounds that he could not engage Kev Hassan. Is this how we're going to run our country? That we will not engage people who disagree with us? That people who disagree with us are not Liberians enough? Are they going to be silenced? This is a very dangerous trend.
Robert, all the politicians do that, and that's sad. But thank you.
And for a country that is moving forward, we must not allow this. Joseph Boakai is not fit to be president of our country. The Unity Party has proved to be a disgrace to an institution that is well coordinated and an institution that is actually standing on the principle of what true political institutions should stand for. This is wrong. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me come to you, Jimmy.
So for the record, before you go, Rabbi, I was questioning your reasoning.
Go ahead. I was
questioning your reasoning.
Go ahead.
Because you've always questioned Henry Costa. You don't trust him, but on this press statement, you trust everything that he says. So I'm questioning your reasoning.
Everything. No, I believe specific things he
mentioned. So for the fact that he mentioned a rule, he mentioned a date, you agree with him.
I can't believe it.
So I question your reasoning, and this is why then your independence come into question.
No, Thomas, the reason you should question is the people who told us not to question Henry Costa when he spoke about other candidates, why are they not telling us not to believe him?
But you need to wait for them to see if they are coming to clarify some of the things that you are questioning. But you are believing everything that Costa said.
I didn't believe everything. I didn't say I believe everything. There are specific things.
Which one you didn't believe, Rabon?
I didn't believe. Say that again.
Which one of the things Costa said today, which one you don't believe?
Look, I don't believe that Henry Costa did not release Justice Boakai health records. Remember, before this press conference, he spoke about this bypass heart transplant surgery that was needed to be done. I don't believe, and before then, there were health records of Joseph Boakai released out there. When brought to question, he said he didn't release them. Based on his testimony today, I'm sure that Henry Costa is behind those press releases. Look, people question.
Thank you, Robert.
Let me
go to Jimmy.
A lot of what you said today
that was actually a manufacture. I mean, it was also, that Waxer thing, people say it was manufactured because it was in a chat room. In fact, there were allegations of either ANC people being behind that, So, and Costa clarified.
Jimmy, let me come to you. It's always said that the burden of proof always lies with the accuser. So in this case, Costa should be able to prove it. But don't you think, or do you think that the Unity Party should really come out and point by point respond to these allegations?
Well, first of all, it depends on how much gravity this whole press conference had. Does it take away from Boakai anyway? Does it take away from his reputation? Does it take away?
So it does.
Does it take away? I don't know, because let's look at the operation. That is a very scary operation, and I can see him not going, not because they will kill him or anything, but being afraid to undergo such an operation. That is a very scary operation, and as a man with advanced age, he might think twice about it. If he had to, he probably will undergo it. But he might be thinking twice about going under such a rigorous operation, critical operation. So I can see him denying, turning away from it. I think there's a lot of conspiracy theories mixed up with half truths and modified facts. You know what I mean? Everything is all a melange. Today, one of the panelists said it very good today. Costa came out to say he was betrayed. Well, we've been knowing he was betrayed, but he wanted to give some bad publicity to the decisions of the VP. So that is why he mentioned the bribery, and he mentioned other acts against Cummings and stuff like that. He wanted to throw shade on the VP. But what all this conference was about today is Costa felt very betrayed and he needed to get that off his chest. How the UP will act to it, I just think they should take it just like that. Costa felt betrayed, and that is why he's coming after us. But as we all have acknowledged here, Costa he has that gift, and if he decides to turn his guns on you, I think we're going to see a lot more than just a heart transplant or a heart operation or a decision of attempted bribery intent. I can see also how Boakai may walk away from such, because when you negotiating, sometimes people lead you into a situation, you don't know all the details until you get there. So when he got in the room in Ghana, then he saw the real Boogeyman and he backed out. So I can see that happening as well. Can we give him credit for not violating our election laws? Well, first of all, we got to know who were in the room, because it could have been Liberians, it could have been CDC, for all we know. And I don't believe the $30 million amount. I really think nobody going to offer that kind of money. I have a question about it, but I think there was some offer made, and he backed out of it. So, what should UP do? I think they just need to say, well, this is a vengeance attempt at taking a stab back at the VP. That's all they need to do.
Thomas, do you think the same way? Do you think?
Yes, yes. So I think there is something playing here. There are definitely winners and losers out of everything that has played out. And the winners are those who approach Henry Costa. Even if they did not want him to run as president, I think they thought that he was someone who was part of the VP's camp, and they could try to disorganize and even slow down the steam, right? Because if you listen to his press conference, Henry Costa had earlier said he wanted to run as a senator. So everything was steady and moving along. That was what his focus was. Even when he returned to Liberia, when the ALP was having an event, I think somewhere outside Monrovia, he went straight to the Unity Party head office. So that was steady and moving along. And then you have this external shock with some people coming, they do a study, and then they call you out of the blue.
Thomas, you must also add that when you went to the Unity Party headquarters, he was stopped from using the Unity Party headquarters. It's part of the...
Let me finish, Mr. Gonglo.
Yeah. I was just saying that this must be a conspiracy theory or a plan.
So it's truthful that he did not use the Unity Party headquarters. That's the truth. He went there, but they denied entry.
I've passed the issue of the Unity Party headquarters. I accept the point that you made. Maybe I did not watch the video as close as you watched. But the point I'm making is that there is an external shock that comes into play with this issue of someone approaching, or a group of prominent people approaching Henry Costa and saying to him, we think you can be a presidential candidate. And he says no. If you go through the text, he also says that even that was prophesied to him 3 years ago, even before now. But he himself did not take it seriously until it materialized before him. So the point I'm making is that those who approach Henry Costa, they had an intent. And that intent is, maybe we get you to run by yourself, or we just disrupt the camp that you are in. So I think it's part of everything that has played out onto the point where we are. Because to be very frank, even when the names were coming up around the VP pick for Ambassador Boakai, Henry Costa was not part of the earlier discussions. It was just very close to the end. And he confirms that in his press statement, that it was because of this kind of investors who wanted to support. This is why he came into the mix. So the point I'm making here is that, obviously, I think this is just a game that started to be played. This was a movie, and we are just getting now to the end of the movie.
Thank you.
So Dennis, maybe the flip side of the question to ask is, why if Costa had been chosen by Boakai, what would have been the narrative today? Maybe let's pontificate on this. What would have been the issue today? What would have been the argument?
There will be no press conference.
Right, there will be nothing, right?
Unity Party people will not be attacking. They will not doubt anything about him, right? So that's the hypocrisy here.
And the
Everything will be
hypocrisy is on both sides. And I want you to also recognize that Costa is doing this because he was caught. If Costa was chosen to be, hold on now, if Costa was chosen to be the VP, he wouldn't have a press conference today denouncing Boakai. Correct?
I agree with you. All right. But the guy is on record. The guy is saying to you,
you're
Dennis,
always quoting this guy.
No, but because I'm not him, I have to use his words, not my words.
What I'm saying here is all
today,
this wouldn't have mattered if Costa was chosen. The reason we are here is because Costa was not chosen. End of story.
He said the ALP, Advanced Serial Beslo, recommended Yomli Kanga and others. And they said, Waka, if you go with Kuhn, Prince Johnson, Slide Prince Johnson, we are not with you.
If they have gone with Costa advice, then everything is fine. Then Boakai health is no longer an issue.
So I want us, for one, we know many Liberians do not stand for anything. The politically active class.
But Costa stand for something. That's what you're saying.
I said, did I say so? I said many Liberians who are politically active do not bury their principle many times, or many of them have checker records.
You are contrasting them with Henry Costa.
Is Costa now a politically active Liberian?
Okay.
So you want to start naming the thousands and thousands of politically active Liberians? Then we will not have the show today. I will not even remember all. So I said, many who are politically active in Liberia do not keep their principle. They do not stand. They move from institution to institution. They move from politician to politician. That's just a fact. So I think what we're struggling with, what some of you are struggling with here, including the moderator, is that mindset that can a Liberian who is politically active stand for something. And I think I don't have that problem. It seems like a mirage to some of you that can this guy go to Boakai and say, look, we have fought for this change. We have fought this government.
No, man. I'm a little disappointed about that. Now, let's move on.
Can he stand with it? People find it difficult to believe that it's hard for a Liberian to do that.
Dennis, I have to remind you, you continue to question the credibility of what Costa did today. And rightfully so, you should. But I'm also telling you that you should look and reflect on what has happened. The names that Costa names, I'm waiting to hear some of these people come out to refute what he said, because these are some really very reputable. Some of them
do you agree with Gonglo that because Liberians are not honest, so we are doubtful that Costa is honest? That's the point he's making. I want you to respond to that.
No, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah,
but I'm saying to you, because I think you started with the question as to whether Costa is to be believed over.
Yeah.
Yes.
I asked that question.
And I'm saying to you, if I got up here and climbed on the top of the building and said Dennis Ja is not a journalist, I mean, I expect you to come out. And
maybe not.
Then it's gonna linger out there, and people are gonna believe it. Who wants to believe it will believe it.
Exactly.
So he named BJ's Brownie Samukai. He named Kofi Woods. He called Alari Toba. These are people we all know. And I am waiting really to hear what they have to say about this.
And definitely we're going to pursue them. But here's my question.
Until they come out and deny it, I am going to believe it.
No, don't believe it because nobody denies. So at least do a little more. But here's my question. With everything that has happened, Costa, they didn't go his way. He made his press conference and he kind of let a cat out of the bed of other internal things that happened during their marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here? What do we expect? Is Costa running for president? Is Costa endorsing Cummings? Is Boakai going to be damaged as a result of this press conference?
If I must speculate,
let's look ahead and what do we see?
If I must speculate, and we all here have indicated that Henry Costa is a smart fellow. I think his delivery may leave much to desire, but he's a tactician. We all know the next deadline is right around the corner. I am sure he may want to go and register for his senatorial bid. And he's getting back into the news. I mean, this what other way could anyone have reintroduced himself?
What do you think is direction for presidency? Is he going to support anyone?
I'm not. I don't know, but it is not impossible. I mean, Sarah Beslow, who he mentioned, she just announced last week that she is running for the presidency. Who knows? He might be running along with Sarah. Who knows?
Yeah.
He might come to the CPP. He might go to communists. But I'm saying I believe it will be difficult for him to come to the CPP, given what has transpired since the Unity Party and the ALP exited the CPP. It's going to be a little bit. He might go back to the CDC. I mean, it's not something he has never done before. So I really believe. I mean, it's his to decide where he wants to go.
Right.
But I'm saying we can read the tea leaves. We can read the tea leaves and speculate on what he's doing.
Mr. Gonglo, the days and months ahead, weeks ahead, what lies ahead of Costa, Boakai, and what's going to happen, you think?
Well, Tennessee is what I was saying. I always say this, and I believe it. Election is a human event. Any event that human beings are involved in it can be very fluid, can be very dynamic, can change. My reliance would be what psychologists say about human beings. They say we just remember 20% of what we do on a daily basis by the end of the day. And we'll tend to remember or base our decision largely on the most recent events in our life. Saying election is a human event. We are barely 3 months, a little over 3 months, few days over 3 months to the election. This election is still up for grabs. Some event can happen. A presidential candidate can be even arrested today for rape, and it change the whole dynamics. Okay? Can be accused today of rape. Rape is non-bailable, and the dynamic change. So I would say a lot is still out there, and say what you may, Costa, just like many young Liberians and older Liberians, they may have issues, you may have issues, but that guy, he's a gifted or tactician, he's a gifted use of the Queen's language. He has a gift of the voice.
Yeah.
He can actually take on one issue today. Costa just throw one blow. He said, Jeremiah Kun, human parcel. People made music out of it. He didn't even say anything. Even he tried to that was an unfortunate statement. But it went wild on social media.
So
we don't know what he's going to say tomorrow morning. Here? We don't know what he's going to say tomorrow morning. He could say something tomorrow morning, and the entire nation will be running with it. I give it to him. So that Washington, I think
hold on, Jimmy. I want
an involving issue that I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves on this.
No, we are not getting ahead. But you expect the Unity Party to also come back. So that's what I'm saying. Put on your hat.
Prince Johnson has already reacted to it. I just read his reaction.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What do you see ahead? Instead of waiting because this guy is gifted, and what do you see ahead coming?
I think he's going to be politically active.
What does that mean?
He's not going to be silent in the election, just as he was not silent in 2011. He was not silent in 2017. I think he's going to be. He's not going to be silent. That's what I can say.
But is he going to be significant? Is he going to be relevant?
Well, the verdict is out there, because you know what? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball to see what are the issues.
You can't look at a crystal ball. Why you can't look at it now?
No, I don't have the crystal ball to see what are the bash that he's looking at. I'm not looking at his urn to see what are the issues that he's going to put his hand and bring one out tomorrow morning. I don't know. But I do know that this guy can take an issue and get a whole nation start talking about it.
If we were to speculate, I think the incident, I think it increased his trust deficit because, one, it exposed him of doing some of the very things that he criticized other people for. We all know Senator Kanga Lawrence was actively campaigning for the running mate position, and he was very vocal against that. and then he turned around. It seems like this whole recent the $30 million thing was nothing short of campaigning for the same position. So he called Boakai a dead man walking at one point in time, and now he's revealing to us that he was aware of his health condition, and yet he's pushing this man for the presidency. Now, how patriotic is that? If you know that this man is seriously ill, and you continue to push him to run for the presidency, then it questions your motives for pushing him to run. So I really think this thing exposed a lot of flaws in his argument, his presentation, and he would need to do a lot to build that up. For that reason, I think his gravitas has kind of shrunk to some extent. I think a lot of people have problems.
Let me chime in 1 minute, and then
I want you to be last. I want Thomas to come before you, Jimmy.
Okay.
Just write it down.
If taken from Henry Costa text, if it had been prophesied that he would win and he was so popular that he could win the presidency, and then someone is coming to you and say they've done a survey and that survey showed that you could win, to me, this opens an opportunity for him. If he gets back to these people and they put the $30 million on the table, let's hope they are Liberians, because there are campaign finance regulations on the use of money from outside the country to be used for election purposes. But if these are people who genuinely believe that he could be president, he had believed in Ambassador Boakai and said, okay, you turn the money over to him, but that did not work, then it is an opportunity for him to run for the presidency, given that these people trust him and they can give him these resources. This is why, for me, I have a doubt in all of this money issues surrounding this 30 million. I don't believe it. Some of the things that he said in the background of the speech, I think these are political issues that were taking place. And one of the things we've not mentioned on the issue of this Democratic Alliance, he says that Ambassador Boakai himself was thinking that Madame Saliv was going to kind of obstruct his chances within the Unity Party, and therefore he wanted a fallback position. If that did not happen, they move ahead with the Unity Party. So some of these background issues could be true. But to me, the issue of the $30 million is so suspicious that I don't trust it. Not because a meeting took place in Ghana. So I think if he's very sure that he can win the presidency, let him throw he's above the age. Constitutionally, he's qualified to run for the presidency, let him run. Again, the other thing is that you're so popular, there's a survey that says that you are going to win, but even your political leader and your sister Taylor Ure did not believe that you could win. Even when Ambassador Boakai had thought that he could carry you, they thought that Madame Yanti should be suggested because she had more experience, she was better than you, and therefore she should be the one suggested. So I think let's watch and see where he goes. But he has a couple of options. He can announce to run as a president, find a vice presidential candidate. He can run on the ALP ticket, or he can decide to support some of the other candidates. It will be interesting to see how he and Moria Yakula can settle their long-standing battle for him to support the ANC, or maybe he go to Councillor Gonglo. He's a political actor. He will continue to be, but I agree with the point that Victor made earlier. When you listen to the talk shows in Monrovia today, some of the callers are going against him. They're saying, oh, we can't trust you. So now we have to look at his net margin in terms of political capital. He has lost some of it. Maybe he has gained some in some quarters. So it will be that net margin that he will have to depend on to decide what his next move is going to be.
But as of today, or after the press conference, where do you think that put Costa's rating? Up or down?
Based on the calls that I listened to before joining the program, many of the calls were kind of going against him.
Thank you. Jimmy, let me hear what happens from here with Costa and Boakai.
Okay, excellent.
Which radio station? Because I think it's a bit unfair to appear like on average all the callers in Monrovia, because
then why you hurry?
Yeah, so for example, which radio station?
I was listening to Spoon TV just before I joined this program. Excuse me, 1 minute. Besides Spoon, I've also been going through a lot of posts If you want to follow opinion in Liberia, follow social media, follow Facebook. Everyone is commenting 30 million. How can Costa refuse 30 million?
I said here,
Let
I'm not at
me-
work, I'm on vacation. That's
let me-
all I do, Thomas. I watch, there's not a group chat that I don't respond and I don't listen to. Even at the county level, I'm in 10 different countries.
Mr. Gongo, that's why I asked you for your opinion, and you gave yours.
Dennis, this is
Right.
why I said that his political capital now depends on the net margin. He has lost some supporters. He has gained some of them. It will be interesting to see what that net margin is. I'm just giving you a sample of what I listen
Mr.
to.
Gonglo,
That some of the
can
calls
you
and
wait?
the posts that
I
I've
asked
seen.
you first. Let me go to Jimmy this time.
Yeah, you know, I know all of you appreciate it. I said, especially my comrade Gongo here. Sometimes when you don't know the answer to a question in a test, they say how you, and it's a multiple choice. You start with elimination. Start with what is not, cannot be. Costa clearly said he advised the VP Boakai that if he was going to go with the option of Jeremiah Kuhn, that he will not support him. And so definitely he's not going back to UP because this is what he said. If you look at the other alternatives he has, he's had a rub with ANC for a long time. I can remember years back, ANC had a chat room and they were just starting up this politician. I think this was before the Ellen second term, and it fell out because Costa would come out and say things. They said they would kick him out of the chat. That's when Costa started his own chat and had his open up his platform to be as big as it is today. But his alternatives are Gunglo, Cummings, which he has a long spat with ANC, and the CDC. You know, he's been, the CDC are his buddies. He knows those people. They will welcome him. So, but importantly, Cummings Costa wants to run. He wants to run for president. He's said it several times. He's going to make a presidential bid. So what he will be deciding now is something that will bolster his presidential career. He doesn't want to kill his presidential career. So he's going to go where he have a be pivotal for him to make a presidential run in the next 6 or 12 years. So looking at that, again, it lines up with CDC because CDC has got one more term there, right? We have one more term. So everything points that he's going to go back to CDC. That's from my opinion, everything is pointing to that direction.
So just an information, before he went to Liberia, he had an interview with VOA and he said that was off the table. But again, it's politics.
What
Okay.
was off the table?
No, they asked him about the press conference. He said he didn't want to let the cat out of the bag. And then James Botte said as one of the speculation is that you are going to support the current president. And he said that's one cat that he can let out of the bag. He's not going to support the current president. But again, it's politics.
No.
Yeah.
But to add to that, on the Costa show, he appeared and he was interviewed by Darlington Collins and Boakai Kamara. And he said, listen, this regime, I have fought this regime. I thought I would support President Weah. We had a fallout. They damaged my studio. I can't get my studio by today. I'm on the internet. There's no way I can see myself support them.
Right, that's what Thomas said.
Yeah. No, I mean, I said in addition to what he said to VOA, he actually said on his show that there was one thing he can say in advance, that George Weah was not his option. In as much as he was not going to support the Boakai Prince Johnson ticket, he was not also.
But Costa is known for, moving between among parties, so it's still possible. That's a door. Well, I don't think we can take it off the table.
Dennis, if I challenge you to give records on this, which maybe the show was not meant for, we have had few presidential elections. At least the ones that Costa has been active in. So let's look at 2011 when he contested in District 6. Let's look at 2017 and the one that is pending. So far, you can just say in 2005, he was a little boy, he was like a bare boy, basically. Let's look at that. But 2011, where he was political advisor to, I think, Winston Thurman, he was then active in the CDC. Okay, so let's look at when you say he go between this. Can you explain where are the records? Because I can show you, I can show you the records of officials in the Unity Party and other political parties and see where they've been also between political parties.
But this is not an either-or situation to say that Costa is the only person doing that.
No. So because if you project, when you project it that way, you make it appear like he's just
because we are discussing Costa. Costa saying he's never. No.
There's a guy from UP who is talking here. This guy here. It's just that Costa say American tour all. That particular guy from UP sat in Councillor Gonglo office in 2019. I know what he said to him about Boakai. That Councillor Gonglo.
Mr. Gonglo, that's my point, right? He has moved between CDC, Unity Party. Sometimes he goes to Councillor Gonglo. He talked good about him on his show. Sometimes he goes this way. So it is not impossible for him to go back to CDC. That's the point I'm making.
Well, I want to believe him when he said Boakai Prince Johnson Kun ticket was out and we are Joy Howard Taylor ticket was out. I want to believe that. Okay. Costa and Gonglo relationship, just to clarify, saying he mentioned my brother name, Costa and Gonglo relationship is not political.
He has said this openly on his show. That he's one person that he has high respect for. Right.
Because Councillor Gonglo made a vow that he's a defender of the Constitution. If any Liberian constitutional rights are violated, he will defend you free of charge. And that's why he has been doing that for the press union, the journalists in Liberia, and that's why he did it for Costa, he did it for many couple of Duma. The list is long. I don't even want to start calling the list. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
No, the point I'm making is moving between these parties has not really been based on any ideology. It's being based on him.
So many politically active Liberians.
I'm not saying he's exclusively doing this.
If I don't have evidence, though,
Excuse me?
I said probably including yourself, but I don't have evidence on that.
Right.
But you know, if I may add, Gongo, Gongo, that is the crux of our problem. We don't have any ideological firmness. We just in feelings and whims, instead of saying the things we believe in and cherish and hold most sacred, we will live by. And that is why our politics is just so flimsy. It blows in the wind.
And when you say it, they say, oh, the other guy is doing it. And that's not the point here. But let me bring in some colors here. We have two colors here. The first is Elvis Morris. Gentlemen, we have 10 minutes to end the show. Please, 1 minute each. Elvis, go ahead. You're live.
Thank you, gentlemen. And hello to the panelists. Quickly, I want to say, a broken clock is right twice a day. Certainly, I don't think everything in that press conference was 100%, factual. Some of them may have been exaggerated. But one of the things that he said that was troubling, and a lot of people came to the understanding that this was a false thing that he said. It was proven to be false. But the fact that he reiterated it on the podium there today, I think there's some validity to it.
Because he said it two times.
Helped. Well, because it's such a big claim to make on somebody's health, a situation. He can be sued for that. Mm-hmm. So I think the fact that he said it another time in public, there might be some truth to it. And that's where it's really worrying for me. Because if Joseph Boakai is close to the end of his life, and we are putting our trust in his hands, and it's going to be passed down to Jeremiah Prince Johnson, I think the Liberian people have to seriously think about that option. And lastly, before I get offline, I think Costa's decision will only pay dividends for not only the opposition, but for other political parties, or it will be consequential to Joseph Boakai if he goes against him rigorously, and he goes with somebody that's viable, like Cummings or Weir or even a Gongo, and he really goes against JMB, chances are he was able to give him some boost. Believe it or not, Costa helped JMB. He brought him more popularity. He brought him more, quote unquote, grassroots supporters, because Costa has a lot of those. But if he turn against him and he goes against him, I think JMB will feel it in the long run. But if this is the end of it, and this is, there's nothing more that comes out of Costa, I think it won't really impact JMB in a negative way. I'll leave it there. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. Darling Warwood, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, so here's what I would say. Motive. I have always wondered what was the motive behind Benana Ure disintegrating the CPP. What was the motive behind keep bomb loving and making false accusations against Mr. Kume and make sure they kick him out of the CPP? What was the motive? That's one question I've been lingering and I've been asking myself. And that question was just answered by Hera Costa. The whole issue of Boakai going to Ghana to meet some investor or lobbyist to get $30 million, it was all cooked-up story. There was never a $30 million nowhere. Hera Costa was never asked to contest the presidency and give him $30 million. Nobody ever talked to Hera Costa to say, okay, since you don't want the $30 million, ask your Boakai, if you take the $30 million, then we can, if you agree to take the money, he should make you VP. So the motive for which Ure keep coming out of the CPP and this including the CPP was to make Hera Costa vice president, because the only person that is here in the CPP at the time was Kume. He was the leading candidate to become vice president. So what they did was to make sure they kick it out. In fact, this integrated the CPP altogether.
Thank you.
And so when I heard Costa talking about he was giving $30 million, Hera Costa that I know will reject $30 million.
How well you know him?
Hera Costa sold $5,000 bribe for any judge study. Ordinary $5,000. Ordinary $5,000 he took out bribe for any judge study when anyone was president. And you will look at $30 million. So the whole issue of $30 million, and then you start buying a ticket for Boakai to be flown to Ghana. Those were things that they planned to make this thing to look that it's true. That they have to move the venue over to Ghana, buy ticket, flying, putting a VIP hotel, five-star hotel, all of that. It was all planned, cooked up story. It was cooked up by Benana Ure, Hera Costa, and Peda Ure.
Thank you.
That camp fell flat on the face, and Hera Costa is left today without a home. He's a homeless man in Liberia today politically. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Derek Poor, go ahead, you're live.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, for the opportunity. So first of all, for some reason, Mr. Boakai seems to have more than nine lives, because this old man, for some reason, he's banned in so many different scandals, and people keep making excuses for him. It's not the first time, right? I don't know if you remember, some time ago, there was a meeting that got leaked. Now, him and Mr. Cummings met in Ghana again. And Mr. Cummings wanted to ask him to step out and lift his hands up. And according to a report from that meeting, Mr. Boakai asked for $5 million. And Mr. Cummings said, no, I can't give you that kind of money. And when Mr. Boakai is going on most of these trips, he does not take the Unity Party executive with him. It starts with his sons, his nephew. And Hera Costa said the same thing again today in his press conference. Now his son, I think Jojo, J. Kabakori, those are the people you always take along when you go on these morning trips. So the Baba is very, very deep. Now when somebody says, I will give you 30 million, we are intelligent people. Nobody's going to take 30 million cash and put in your hand. But the person will finance your campaign. Now I'm not saying the story is right or it's wrong. But you got to say again, we always talk about, and there's no physical evidence, we always go for the circumstances. This man named Mr. Boakai in-law, there's a lady in Minnesota. The man named people that he put on the phone to talk to vent his anger. So it has to be a little bit of truth to this. It may not be 30 million, but there's some level of truth there, or else will be coming out swinging to be bombing by this time. You know what I mean? So, but the whole thing about this is, let me just ask you the last question before I go. Let me answer me. So he just talked about ideology. Nobody have no ideological alignment. What ideological alignment that Jimmy have with Josh Williams? That he support Josh Williams today. Let Jimmy tell us today so we can hear it. But what philosophy he and Josh Williams said in common that he support Josh Williams today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me bring Mr. Aliyu Kamara. Mr. Aliyu.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. First of all, at no time Jimmy ever declared that he was supporting CDC. By the way, let me say,
how much time does this man have tonight, Dennis?
No. Oh, Aliyu?
Yeah, man.
Aliyu have 2 hours. Go ahead, Aliyu.
Jesus.
Mr. Gonglo, you muted yourself when you're talking. Go ahead, Aliyu.
Yeah.
Let me unmute myself because I'm ready to ask you.
Wondering or asking the question whether or not the United Party was the information that I'm getting. The United Party will not, as a party officially, will not respond to Henry Costa. Somebody from Bernard Samuka just informed me a few hours ago that he said he would not answer the man. The man's a boy, doesn't know what he's talking. So for those of you who are expecting that United Party will allow this unnecessary thing to distract the party, you got it all mixed up because Joseph Boakai has already responded, and that is the end. He's been warned not to even go into detail exchanging war with this guy. The first round in 2017.
Aliyu, let me call you out right there because this is Costa now. Remember when Mr. Boakai comes to America and we have to talk to Boakai, it got to be through Costa. So the proximity, so you can't just dismiss him like that.
No. Listen, let me make something clear.
Right.
The proximity that Boakai had with Henry Costa, as far as Boakai was concerned, this was someone who was loyal to him. Mm-hmm. This was someone who had his interest at heart.
Right. He controlled his itinerary when he comes here.
Well, I wouldn't use the word control.
Including putting him in the basement while they play pool.
There's no wrong with playing pool.
Boakai did not know that this young man had a selfish interest.
So then why he will not come out to say something, Aliyu? What did they say about silence?
He has already said something.
You just said that. You said they're not going to say anything about it.
He's already said what he said, and that's it. He said Henry Costa is his son, and he has forgiven him. So Boakai is in nausea telling you that nothing Henry Costa said is closer to the truth.
Okay.
Now, if you observe Boakai, Joseph Boakai, why did he and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf fall off? Because Ellen wanted to pick his running mate. He's always told people, don't make my decision. I will make my decision for myself. He's always told people that. And Boakai had no intention of selecting Henry Costa. For God's sake, for some of you guys who are trying to rationalize this whole $30 million thing, tell me, Victor, your big brother, you've been in this business a lot longer than me. What qualification does Henry Costa has that would enthuse a businessman to spend $30 million on Henry Costa? Henry Costa ran in the election, couldn't even get 5,000 votes. In Monserrato County, where he makes the biggest noise.
Aliyu, if you listen to me throughout the
hold on, Victor. Don't get Aliyu staying long here.
So what I said was, I will believe or not believe what he said based on your reaction. And you're telling me here, you guys will not say anything. Then, of course, you're leaving everybody to believe what he said.
Aliyu, you got 30 seconds. Please conclude.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Why would Joseph Numa Boakai get into pay for pair with Henry Costa? He wouldn't do that. I don't think you even expect Joseph Boakai and Henry Costa to go to that level. But in closing, let me just say, my brother Caleb, your credibility is getting blurred. I mean, your inability to be objective is getting so prevalent to the point where people are getting concerned about what's the issue here? Is there some sort of animosity to the point where you just cannot see the reality? Why would Joseph Boakai make Henry Costa a vice president, a potential running mate? Why? What does Henry Costa bring to the table?
Thank you. Maybe the same.
The reverse question to you is, why would Boakai put all his trust, his itinerary, everything into the young man that you don't think he worth anything? Maybe that's the reverse. That's the
Boakai love Joseph Boakai Jr. He walks around him, but he's not going to make him vice president. Just because he gave his itinerary to you doesn't mean you're qualified to be vice president.
Thank you.
You see what Boakai is doing with Mo Ali right now? Mo Ali is in Boakai's office, and that's how it's going to be when Boakai wins the election. Just because he sent you in front and you go and take care of issues does not necessarily mean that you're qualified to be vice president. Because you understand Boakai.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Let me take the last caller here. Swan, please turn on what you're watching us on. Let me take the last caller here.
Yes, Benito, thank you. Thank you for the show. It's hard enough to see that we take this long time to discuss about the press conference today of Henry Costa. The first thing is that Henry Costa is not anybody that we can trust. On his show, countless times, he said that Liberian people are the stupidest people on earth. Why recently, he said that Cuba was trading in human bad. And 2 days later, he apologized. He said he would support Boakai, the man who Boakai picked. And how is it now that he's angry? Now he treats elderly people with this thing. And he wants to be president of people that he said that he considered the stupidest people on earth. He has placed a complete question mark to his political career. Let's look at the political history of our country. See Bacchus, see Oscar Quinn, see Putin, and the rest of the people. You need that. Their names were household names in our country. But how did they go down in politics in our country? So what tell you? Costa is nobody to be taken seriously in our country. Thank you.
Dennis, I think this guy is giving misleading information.
Yeah.
To learn G. Bacchus Matthew or Oscar Jayukuya or Dr. Tipote and others with a broad brush, you must understand the democratic transition in Liberia. The moment these guys were struggling for multi-democracy in Liberia, we had a military intervention. That at the end of the military intervention, you had 14 years of civil war. See how that country was actually uprooted and destroyed. So politics is a civil issue. There was no civility existing in Liberia since 1980 up to 2005, I would say. So where did you expect Bacchus and Jayukuya, Dr. Tibo to find the space? So I think is an intellectual dishonesty when people come and try to distort, and give a concocted meaning to reality, which is not true.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just joining us, this is Between the Headlines, and we are discussing the press conference of Henry Pedro Costa and the ALP that was held today at the headquarters of the ALP. Tomorrow, Wednesday, join us for the Liberia History Channel. We try to switch it around a little bit, right? It's summer. We want to enjoy our Saturdays. So this Wednesday, we're going to be talking on the topic, who are the natives? You always hear Native Congo. Everybody migrate here. Buya said Liberia is full of social strangers. Really? Join us this Wednesday at 7 p.m. for the Liberia History Channel. Tomorrow is our health show. Join Abby Tyler and Abby Tyler Healthy Living. It's every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Gentlemen, I was looking at everything and I took a step back. I don't know if you, and I want us to conclude with this. Today, also, we saw a press conference coming out from the COP say they suspend or expel Mr. Henry Pedro Costa for solicitation of bribe, misconduct, and all the 9 yards. And the letter was signed by Joseph K. Valley Jr., Secretary General, Council of Patriots. So many things begin to happen, right? Costa first look at Boakai, say dead man walking. Later on, they were all in bed. Now the COP that he has put on his shoulder say, hey, you are expelled. I was looking at all these things and how even the press conference, some people when we're coming to the panel discussion, they say, why are you elevating Costa? This is, I mean, people told me this. Why are you elevating this discussion? In fact, the last caller said the same thing. He's nobody. And I told them, well, if somebody who's we all listen to making this, that's somebody. But how you look at this whole system, people sometimes they say, oh, politics, interest. But you see a lot of betrayal, a lot of backbiting. People are behind people. You could see how Costa was flanked, to be more presidential, people standing behind him and all that. It's like there was some form of theatrics. What do you make of this whole political,
Dennis, why would you describe that as some theatric? Why? Is it not what all presidential candidates do?
Oh, he's not a presidential candidate.
No. Is that not what all leaders do in the political process?
Leader of what?
Costa is a leader in his own right. He has followers.
No, okay. Leader.
Dennis, we can even broader define leadership. Costa is a manager. He's the owner of a radio show. He's so he's
the leader of the show, right?
So leader of a show.
Until today, right?
Yeah. So let's face it. So you have a group of people around him. You describe it differently than you describe people behind Boakai or Georgia.
Can you let me describe it the way I want and you can respond?
No, I mean, it's a public forum. That's what I'm
right.
Let
me tell you this.
I'm open to your view. So if I break, you can come in.
I don't mean to step on my friend Killable, but let me tell you this, and I tell this to my UP people all the time. Some of us have been on this thing for over 40 years. Maybe the way we've been doing it is not the right way. Maybe we should maybe we should pay attention to people like Henry Costa.
And that's why we are having
in Delaware. Henry Costa sat down in Delaware and organized and got on the ground, 2-3 years ago, and brought Monrovia to a standstill. When was the last time any politician did that in Liberia? Maybe we need to pay attention and not just write him up. He is a leader. He is a leader of the COP.
Hey, to your point, Nangbe, Dennis, allow me to come in. To your point, you said maybe we should do it another way. I was reading just the other day that we tend to let people put up their hand. I want to be president. I want to be senator. And then we go decide whether we should vote for him. Say we should be more proactive. We shouldn't be letting those a lot of narcissistic, power greedy, hungry, thieving people put up their hand before we should be looking for people prior and say, my man, the way I see you honest, the way I see you committed to the community, the way I see you're a man of principle. Why don't you be our president? Why don't you be our senator? Instead, because those people who put up their hands, one thing they may want to do something, but they also want power, popularity, and all those other things that come with the job.
Let me interject. And the reason I said that because the people that are popular or the people that have following, they are many, right? And that's why we are having the discussion. Take Prophet Key, for example. You could say if we go by Calebo's definition, he's a leader, right? And all the other different talk show hosts that are commanding a sizable crowd following them.
You can't convince my wife that he's not. So just
exactly. So he's a leader, right? So all these people are leaders. It's left with us to still examine them.
Prophet Key got more viewer than FOL that discusses issues.
I agree, and that's my point, right?
Yeah, but
so
then
I
think the point you're making, is this. And even in this country, this is why.
But what I'm saying, if your definition of leadership is based on the number of followers or people watching you on
No,
internet,
that does not make you a leader. No,
exactly.
no.
So
And this
that's
is
why
why even in this country, the politicians here, they shy away from being labeled as celebrities or whatever it is, because popularity is not equivalent to being a leader. You can be popular. I mean, the current president we have right here is probably the most popular president in recent times. You can't tell me he's a leader. He has not been. He has not led on anything. So, but there are some
No, but
populist
that's the
leaders.
point I was making when Mr. Gonglo challenged me, and I wanted him to. I
Okay,
wanted to
I'll give you
learn
a
so that he
clue.
could bring up his point. Because
Okay.
leadership, if we determine leadership by that, and that's the reason why we are the place we are, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Leadership is the ability
Can I come in?
to influence, basically.
You
The ability to influence.
you were highlighting the issue of the COP earlier. You know, one of the callers said that the Unity Party is not going to respond, and Ambassador Boakai has already responded. But if the Unity Party is just going to move on, then they have to move on with their units. Because there is one thing about the COP, Costa happened to have been the face of the COP, but the COP had a lot of technicians behind it. A lot of them. And they were actually from across different political parties. That first demonstration, I think the June 7th demonstration that took place, you had the Ben Savin, you had the Dillon, the Mo Ali, all of them congregated into that CPP or into that COP. Even when the demonstration negotiations were taking place, they had negotiation with the UN, the AU, the embassies, they were all part of it. So the point I'm making is that if they want to move ahead, then these other units should also follow. Because if you now come and expel Costa from the COP, then he has some bit of followers, the group is going to get divided. Already the CDC had gone in and extracted some of their members. Well, you now have the CDC COP. So this is something, if they are not very careful, it's not going to go away by just simply saying we are not going to respond with a press statement, but even the actions that will take place moving forward will show exactly whether this will go away or will continue to drag on. I just wanted to put that point through.
Yeah, Dennis.
And that's the point I want to also conclude with, right? Has to.
Yeah, but Dennis, if I may comment on this COP issue, that Joseph Weiler guy who signed that statement as Secretary General, you know which political party he belonged to?
I don't know.
I can tell you, he's a Unity Party activist. In fact,
COP is not a political party, right? So they take people.
Yeah, it's a pressure group. So it's in fact, I will say this to you. I will say this much. I will diverge this to the public through this channel. I had a conversation with Henry Costa at some point. To be fair, I was one of those. I was not a registered member of the COP, but I was one of the big supporters of the June 7th demonstration. I did contribute ideas, strategies, and what have you.
Money also? Yep.
Well, I'm not going to go that far. So
okay. That's fair.
Yeah. So
$30 million too? Or how much?
And so when I saw that there could be
that 10,000 you pay, the famous 10,000.
that there were I didn't pay $10,000 for MPF for war, like others did. As a humanitarian offer, I didn't do that. So when I saw that there could be a potential fallout in the COP, I did have a conversation with Henry on this. And I remember Henry saying to me, part of his challenge is because of his support for Boakai, or he has drawn in the COP large number of UP's tower, basically elevated them around him because they were in the same. So
you say elevated them around him,
giving them permanent roles to play in a COP,
okay.
Chairman of this committee and blah 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 blah, because they all were in one political boat. So when there was that potential of disagreement, he actually lamented the fact that because there was an issue, and I said, why not the COP are patient? Why the COP can't take position on this? He said, forget it. I can't get those Boakai people to take position on this because they don't think that this is good for.
But if you're in the organization, let the people decide, right? If you are saying
But if
the
the
Boakai
organization was set up with a skill perspective to promote, I mean, COP was basically, I know it came from all sides, but the leadership of the COP was largely Boakai supporters, basically, you know.
right.
Yeah,
And
so
then he doesn't want them to play a role in the leadership when it's something coming and say no. We
yeah,
got plenty of
because
Boakai
then
people, so we can go
when
this
it
way.
comes to voting the executive committee, basically they'll go against it. And I know what I'm talking about. There was an issue at the legislature, and some of United Party people were affected on that. And I said, why the COP can't issue statement? They say, forget it. The UP people there would not agree to that. And they are in majority in the COP. So if I see Joseph Valai signing that, who is a UP activist, it clearly proved the point. It clearly validated the conversation we had several months ago.
Right. So what you think the COP, what should be their direction? Don't take a position because United Party is in majority, or
here is what I will say. I will say this in reference to, I will use MDR as my reference point. If Prince Johnson leaves the MDR today, there's no MDR. Costa leaves the COP, there's no COP.
And that's the whole point, right? And that's what I was getting to when you interrupted.
Let's just face it. We are spelling Henry Costa. Costa it's a bigger shadow of the COP.
Because there is no organization, there's no ideology. People just follow Costa and call it COP.
Well, not necessarily. I think this is a culture in life. Why will you say?
No, not the culture.
Why will you say?
Hijack the political system. These noise makers took leadership, and people rally around them because they make the loudest noise. And when you really press them, there is nothing there, and that's why these organizations are breaking apart.
No, Dennis.
Let's say no. But let's conclude, gentlemen. We have taken so long.
Let's put this in context. I will give you two institutions: the Liberian People's Party, the United People's Party (UPP). These people.
You're talking about 40 years ago. Today they are nowhere.
Yes, we are.
Dennis, if you give me
that was intentional.
If you give me a chance, I'm trying to put this.
I want us to.
I'll end very quick on this.
Yeah, I want us to conclude.
Yeah, you are on it. Myself, I need to leave.
Yeah.
If you take these two institutions, with or without Bacchus Matthews.
That time, but now these people have just hijacked. Without Cummings, there's no ANC. Without Joseph Boakai, United Party,
there's no UP. That's just so. The point I'm making is not just or like a no. Without Joseph Boakai, UP is flawed. Without MDR, there's no
exactly
MDR. It's flawed. Without PYJ, there's no MDR.
Right. But why is it that way?
I think it is not that the leaders themselves decide to design it that way.
No, the leaders do that.
Some of the institutions, people just do not need. They don't want to challenge their leaders. I work with some leaders. I remember challenging a minister. I'm not going to call a minister name. And that minister came to my office and banged the door on me. He said, "Why you dare say that to me? You have a moral philosophy."
But that's the point. These are the leaders that are responsible. Right? Because today, if Prophet Key organizes a party, he becomes the leader.
I said, you can't do that to me. You can't intimidate me into submission. So, Minister, think twice. We had that conversation to go in heaven from 2000. I'm not going to call it year. Then you.
But Mr. Bongo, I want us to conclude.
That minister come to me up to today's day. Despite the fact that he was my boss. We were in the same ministry. He started speaking to me. Because I challenged him on the moral issue.
Thank you. I want us to conclude with this. Based on everything we have discussed so far, what we make of this liberal political system, especially as we go towards 2023? Because all these things I was talking about, the betrayal, the backbiting, the noisy and loud mouth people heading these things, or you have the bigger package, Taylor had the biggest gun, and these kind of people take leadership. Okay. Even if you are in leadership and maybe you try to do something different, people look at you that you are funny. So every human being with a brain now, with some potential, is a presidential candidate, is a political party. And we can't go on like this. we still don't have institutions. We have individuals, and the parties, political parties, and institutions are wrapped around them. Based on the press conference today and what we see so far, what you make of our political system and what you make of election 2023 as we go towards it, what do you think going to happen?
It will be interesting.
Okay.
It will be interesting.
Can I?
So, I mean, that's one thing. I mean, this is, like I said, this is all coming from the vice presidential selection decision that was made by the former vice president. This is a fallout. Some people stay, some people left. And so this drama, I think, like I said, maybe depending on what happens in the next 2-3 weeks, this chapter is going to be closed. But there will be some other political issues that will come out. And when you ask about our political system, because these political parties are not really strong institutions, they don't take positions on policy issues. So the politics happens to just center around individuals. And it continue to be these political manipulations. You know, we were all very anxious to see what the vice presidential picks of these political leaders were going to be. I think the major ones have now selected a vice presidential candidates. We are still waiting to see what is going to be the policy decision or policy discussion around policy issues on how they will address the issue of the economy, they will address the issue of jobs, the issue of drugs and everything. I can say this to you, we might not hear that because every day there will be some kind of story that comes up that take the headlines for the rest of the week. And in the end, you will have no concrete decision on how the real policy issues will be solved. And then we will go to election, someone will win, inauguration will take place, and then we start to scramble. Then UNDP will come around and help us develop the next 5-year plan. USAID gave some little bit of support here, the UN agencies patch us here, and we continue to move as a country. Everyone is talking about, oh, the current government has taken up into a large or amount of debt, 1.1 or maybe 1 billion. But how do we address that debt? What is the medium-term debt management strategy that you are bringing as an opposition politician? How do we address it? So our political system is growing, is getting maybe gradually stronger, but our political parties are still weak. You don't know where they stand on policy issues. And so it all becomes the issue of popularity, who's popular, who can speak a lot, who has a large number of following. And it's going to take us a long time to really be able to push the needle on development in that country.
Yeah, Dennis, if I can just interject quickly before you go. The point Thomas is making here is, under the Unity Party government, many people don't know that the former finance minister, Boima Kamara, the last minister who served 16 months, he did an analysis of the Liberian economy under the Unity Party government. I have a copy here, and Dennis, I believe you probably do. He said the government under Unity Party government was already borrowing from the Central Bank Reserve. What was the debt? More than $800 million. And he said the reason why that was happening was like the Unity Party government and the government before Unity Party, the CDC government, all they do is they collect tax and consume. No capital investment. They invest little. And he gave the example of a village that received $20 and the other one received $20 and how they invested their money and how the other village went to prosperity and the other one became poor. And he said that's Liberia. So on this one, in terms of that mentality, both UP government and CDC are the same. That's what I think we should actually do away with these two political parties because they are bad for Liberia. They have no new ideas to offer.
Thank you. Victor?
Yep. Are we closing now?
Yeah, same question that I asked Thomas. I'm saying with everything that's going on, what we see ahead?
I think it's going to be interesting. I'm just hoping that the electorate will demand a little bit more out of our leaders. I don't even understand why we're spending so much time on vice presidential candidates. When we should be analyzing the principles. And I think by doing all this, I think we're giving them really a free pass. And the press, you guys, you have a role to play too. You know, you're doing a good job here, and I hope you continue to do that. But I'm really hoping that, you know, there will be time for these principals to actually come to us and face off and tell us what they intend to do, which we didn't see happening in the last
Because
election.
there's so many diehard supporters who see them as saints, and you can even call them when they want to cut your head off.
Right, except the CPP, I don't think they see them as saints. I don't think so.
Okay, that's another story. Because what we are now is you know, the song "He's my guy. I dedicate my time." That's what these surrogates are doing for these leaders.
But you know, I think it will be interesting. I think we have some good candidates in the race there, and I think our people should pay attention to the policies and the pronouncements. You know, the platforms that are being put forward. I think we should get away from this, like you said, the personality thing. You know, voting on sentiments and all of that. I think we should look critically at what our candidates are putting forward.
Thank you, Jimmy.
You know, I was just in Liberia just a couple of months ago, and the people are feeling the pinch. They're feeling a lot of hardship. Their standard of living is debased. Everybody's hungry. Everybody's striving. It's just a matter of survival, and that is driving some of their decisions. You know, we over here, we can afford to intellectualize. We can sit down on this platform and talk about issues. The people, they're feeling how they're going to progress tomorrow. So I see them rally around people who they think will better their conditions tomorrow. But the way they assess these people, how do they know that they actually bring about economic changes for them? They don't assess them enough critically so that they know, yes, I know that Gongo, he knows economics, he's going to do this, and I know that Cummings, he's a corporate guy, he's going to bring this. They don't make that assessment. They go with wishful, hopeful thinking. So I see when I was on the ground, I saw Boakai gaining a lot of traction, and because they think he's the next best alternative. Okay, and from what I've been understanding, he is a man who will try to lay down some principles because there's some values he does have, but he has surrounded himself. He has surrounded himself with a very volatile group. I don't even think he knows how volatile those guys are. And what will become of Brett Boakai term? That's up in the air, seriously, because the group he has a very volatile constituency right now that anytime anything can happen. Those guys are that close to the presidency, no telling what might happen. So I see if I will add the present administration, the main mistake I see this the administration makes, they do not employ experts. They will put up street lights, and 2 months down the road, those street lights are out. Why? Because you did not employ people who know how to do things to make it last. And that is where they fall short. All the We administration needs is expertise. People are professionals who will do the job, and he will sail over because he still has the popularity. It's just that they haven't been doing a good job. And those are the people he appointing. So that's my take on the whole thing.
That's a very valid point. I mean, I haven't lived long, but I haven't seen a government that dislike technicians.
And that's the scary part, because people, even the presidential candidate and people coming up, I too, because when take for instance, I had an issue when Boakai appointed his team. And even right now, instead of being idea rich in Liberia, everything is toward vote rich. So either you are from Bong, you are from Nimba, you are from Bassa, Lofa, Mangibi. Nothing else is required. You should come from vote rich. No more technician. And that's why sometimes it's hopeless for some of us who have been, keen on some of these ideas. You got to support popular candidates. In fact, if you are having a talk show and you are not talking rubbish, anyway, that's another story. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. Thanks to our viewers and even those who will watch later. Until then, we're going to conclude with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.